السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. قول ديال يودين ماليال همين فيلا كله هذا برنامجك أمور عالمك وركا وين برنامجك ونماذج كجران ولبا كمدها هيكا ودنك أمريكا جو بايدن يولبا يكون بلن قادين وسكتف عدون الدولان كي هايتا روسكا لبا وسكدو هاي شر مدحات كان ناتو واشنطن تلالي برنامج كسين هاينا غضبضة كلنا برنامج كسين هايا ولبا كمدها الوزارة عصب لندوردي ودنك UK كاي استعمى waliba uu sabilaaway inuu isku dawaa arrimaha ka saabsan walqowdowka xaaladaha xabsiyada ka jara waa xabsiyada ka yaalan wadanka barnaamijka yaasiin ku gudbiyana qodobada kalena siinhaya waliba ku midaha booliiska wadanka Iran iyo waliba Yuhirana xafiiska shirkadda diyaaradaha ee Turkish Airlines barnaamijka yaasiin ku gudbiye Meta shirkadda weyn ee ku kooban platformyada badan waliba ay sheegtay wana wacadka martay in ay hiri doonta bogkasto oo la khbar wal ka saabsan Israel barnaamijka yaasiin ku gudbiyana sirdoonka Poland waliba iyo markaasaytii la higida inuu nooliyeen madaxdan ku koreeyay Daesh ee Soomaaliya barnaamijka yaasiin hayna qodobadaas iyo warar kale yaasiin hayna barnaamijka muro caalamka ninka barnaamijka muro caalamka ee wartelka arlaad iyo darartan taariikhda waliba keed inta 9 July waa 10 July sanada 2024 qodobkan korreey ee may kala darartiin Meta hiri doonta wal kasto ka saabsan Israel hadii la qorar platformyada shirkadda Meta ee ku kooban Facebook iyo platformyada kale iyo waliba iyo warhasaarta ka sheegtay in ay hiri doonta lan kasto bogshe ka daawac wararka ka saabsan Israel ee waliba hiraane iyo erena wana cadeena in tirtir doon qoraalada kalina Israel iyo Yahuuda الكباهيو وبوجا بروجرام فيسبوك iyo kamid ayin iyada bogaga joogtay waa markaasiti bogaga joogtay doonan in hawada la ka saara xogahaas iyo amuuro ka saabsan yeertay Meta barnaamijka muro caalamka ee wartelka arlaad iyo daratana xabsiyada ka yaalan UK dhibaatooyin badan ka jiran baaxadda caqabadaha horsuran xukuumadda cusub ee ra'iisul wasaaraha Keir Starmer waliba iyo taa inuu soo qobda amuuraha xabsiyada marus baarlamaanka ku hordhawahay waliba uu sheegay in arintaasi si weyn wala qobdo doona xabsiyada iyo maxaabuus buuxdaafiyan taasoo nishantiin dawladii hal doorashooyin ninjeelaysan oo qaali ah sida la qori ee wargeys caalami ah ka bahow UK Britain iyo le heerkan ku koreeyay galbeedka ee Yurub xabsiyada markiidan fiiri xogta xabsiga ee World Prison Brief walana markaasaytii wajahayta dhibaatooyin kureed markii barnaamij cusub oo dhisme ah guul dareysan in la dareeriyo sharci adag oo xukuumada taasoo markaasaytii kiyaasa tirada si korraayay xabsiyada waa ko Starmer oo ku dhawahay xarunta baarlamaanka murugaasayna suugan taabadi
I now call the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer.
Mr. Speaker-elect, on behalf of the whole House, may I be the first to congratulate you on your re-election. Those of us here in the previous Parliament will always remember the wonderful support that you provided to the former Conservative member, Craig McKinley, and his inspiring battle to overcome his injuries from sepsis. All of those returning will remember, as I do, the speech he gave just a few weeks ago, which was inspiring and moving, and we wish him well, and I had the privilege on that occasion to meet his family and his young daughter. That support, Mr. Speaker-elect, was characteristic of your profound care for the interests and welfare of all members, especially backbenchers. And I'm grateful that new members will be able to look to you as they begin the great privilege of serving their constituents in this House. And may I too welcome each and every one of the new members who is here for the first time starting their great responsibility. May I also thank Sir Edward for presiding over this election and congratulate him on becoming the new father of the House. More than 40 years of continuous service. That is a stunning achievement. And now, back in the 1970s, Sir Edward wrote a book described as, and I quote, a personal collection of quotations dating from 3000 BC to the present day, which might be said to cast some light on the workings of the Tory mind. Mr. Speaker-elect, after the last 6 weeks, I think it might be time for a new edition. Mr. Speaker-elect, you preside over a new Parliament, the most diverse Parliament by race and gender this country has ever seen. And I'm proud of the part that my party has played in that, proud of the part that every party has played in that, including in this intake, the largest cohort of LGBT plus MPs of any Parliament in the world. Yeah. And given all that diversity, Mr. Speaker-elect, I hope you will not begrudge me for a slight departure from convention to also pay tribute to the new mother of the House, Diane Abbott, who has done so much in her career over so many years to fight for a Parliament that truly represents modern Britain. We welcome her back to her place. And now, as in any new Parliament, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to put an end to a politics that has too often seemed self-serving and self-obsessed, and to replace that politics of performance with the politics of service. Because service is a precondition for hope and trust, and the need to restore trust should weigh heavily on every member here, new and returning alike. We all have a duty to show that politics can be a force for good. So whatever our political differences, it's now time to turn the page, unite in a common endeavour of national renewal, and make this new Parliament a Parliament of service. Thank you.
barnaamijka Arimaha Caalamka la darartan Joe Biden waliba usa Ukraine ballan qaaday inuu iska difaaco doono Ruushka walana markaasaytii usa ku dowhay shir madaxeedka NATO ee Washington usoona adeegsaday masraxa caalamiga inuu iska deewnsa tus xulufada gudaha ee dibadda in wili hogaamiyo kora Biden waa 81 jar walana iska adkaysaday ilaa maalmood su'aale oo ka saabsan anqalamowka xafiiska iyadoo qaar ku tirsan saxaabada dimuqraadiga ee Kubiton Hill iyo deeq-bixiyaalka ololayaanka obso goban in isku guul dareysay doorashada Washington November ka dhigi doonta wadanka Mareykanka waa koob madaxweyne ee NATO soo ku dowhay Joe Biden oo Ruushka waa Ukraine ballan qaado in Ruushka difaaco doono.
Especially with our full collective support. They have our full support. Even before Russian bombs were falling in Ukraine, the alliance acted. I ordered the U.S. reinforcements at NATO's eastern flank. More troops, more aircraft, more capabilities. And now the United States has more than 100,000 troops on the continent of Europe. NATO moved swiftly as well, not only reinforcing the 4 existing battle groups in the east, but also adding 4 more in Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, and Slovakia, essentially doubling NATO's strength on the eastern flank. Together, we've built a global coalition to stand with Ukraine. Together, we provided significant economic and humanitarian assistance. And together, we've supplied Ukraine with weapons it needs to defend itself. Tanks, armored fighting vehicles, air defense systems, long-range missiles, and millions of munitions. The United States and nearly 24 allied partners have signed bilateral security agreements with Ukraine, and more countries will follow. Today, I'm announcing the historic donation of air defense equipment for Ukraine. The United States, Germany, the Netherlands, Romania, and Italy will provide Ukraine with the equipment for 5 additional strategic air defense systems. And in the coming months, the United States and our partners intend to provide Ukraine with dozens of additional tactical air defense systems. The United States will make sure that when we export critical air defense interceptors, Ukraine goes to the front of the line. They will get this assistance before anyone else gets it. All told, Ukraine will receive hundreds of additional interceptors over the next year, helping protect Ukrainian cities against Russian missiles, Ukrainian troops facing air attacks on their front lines. Make no mistake, Russia is failing in this war. More than 2 years into Putin's war of choice, his losses are staggering. More than 350,000 Russian troops dead or wounded. Nearly 1 million Russians, many of them young people, have left Russia because they no longer see a future in Russia. And Kyiv, remember, fellas and ladies, was supposed to fall in 5 days, remember? Was still standing 2.5 years later and will continue to stand. All of we allies knew that before this war, Putin thought NATO would break. Today, NATO is stronger than it's ever been in its history. When this senseless war began, Ukraine was a free country. Today, it is still a free country. And the war will end with Ukraine remaining a free and independent country. Russia will not prevail. Ukraine will prevail. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a pivotal moment for Europe, for the transatlantic community, and I might add for the world. Let's remember, the fact that NATO remains the bulwark of global security did not happen by accident. It wasn't inevitable. Again and again at critical moments, we chose unity over disunion, progress over retreat, freedom over tyranny, hope over fear. Again and again we stood behind our shared vision of a peaceful and prosperous transatlantic community. Here at this summit, we gather to proclaim NATO is ready and able to secure that vision today and well into the future. Let me say this. An overwhelming bipartisan majority of Americans understand that NATO makes us all safer. The fact that both Democratic and Republican parties are represented here today is a testament to that fact. The American people know that all the progress we've made in the past 75 years has happened behind the shield of NATO. And the American people understand what would happen if there was no NATO. Another war in Europe, American troops fighting and dying, dictators spreading chaos, economic collapse, catastrophes. Americans, they know we're stronger with our friends. And we understand this is a sacred obligation. As President Reagan put it, and I quote, "If our fellow democracies are not secure, we cannot be secure. If you are threatened, we are threatened. If you're not at peace, we cannot be at peace." Reagan knew it then, and we know it now. Our nations will continue to keep faith with what we pledged in years to come. Now, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to end my remarks in a slightly unusual way. NATO is an alliance of nations, but also made up of leaders. And one person in particular has done an extraordinary job leading NATO for the last decade. Secretary General Stoltenberg, would he come forward? So much of the progress we've made in the alliance is thanks to the Secretary. He's a man of integrity and intellectual rigor, a calm temperament in a moment of crisis, a consummate diplomat who works with leaders across the political spectrum and always finds a way to keep us moving forward. Secretary, you've guided this alliance through one of the most consequential periods in its history. I realize, I was talking to your wife, I personally asked you to extend your service. Forgive me. And you put your own plans on hold. When the Russia war in Ukraine began, you didn't hesitate. Today, NATO is stronger, smarter, and more energized.
waayahay guud ahaan weli baan taxkaasmeerana barnaamijkii amura caalamka ee warkaalka arlaad barnaamijku ka haatan tiro koodan kulmaanayna